Hey, my name's LA. Welcome back to the Let's Talk series. I want to first thank you for being here and thank you for the engagement on the last video. My talk about consumerism and Black women was so well received. Thank you for the engagement in the comments. I am so appreciative. Today in the Let's Talk series, we're going to talk about self assessments. Self assessments can create growth, develop discipline, and really empower you to be the person that you want to be, not the aesthetic that you're trying to create. And that is so important because imagine this: you have a limited amount of time on earth, unless you're a warlock, a sorcerer, or have some mystical powers. We all need to be our best selves for the future generation and for the future us. Let's get started. I'll run the intro and we'll come back and dive in really deep. That Drake was patting on the back, all the rappers. Up to you to do the research. Can you see how I'm sitting back in my chair like this? I have recorded so many parts of this video, but they are triggering so many emotions in me. Every time I pull up to this microphone, I want you to understand that I am working through my things with my community, with you all. That's why I want to set some house rules. We are not here in the Let's Talk series to blame shift, to point fingers, and never attack any groups or individuals. Let your comments be valuable. I'm always in the comment section. So be respectful. And the purpose of the series is really about mental health, developing discipline. And like I said, I'm working through my ish with you. We working through it together. I'm going to give you a lot of transparency and vulnerability on this video about my own personal self-assessment and reflecting on what's exactly happening here. So in all transparency, I'll tell you a bunch about my life, probably more than you will ever ask about. In April of 2024, I reluctantly had to file divorce from my husband. We were just not able to communicate at all. And there was a lot of begging and no bending. I'm sure you can assume the begging was coming from me, the no bending was coming from him. I was forced to file. So I want to make sure that everything I'm doing is really for my own benefit of my future self and the benefit of my child. So I had to take a self-assessment, right? Are you happy? Is this where you want to be? In the next 5 years, will you be at this point again? In 6 months, will you be at this point again? So that took a lot of reflection. I had to do some digging internally, and I had to really be a big girl. You know what I mean? Because I've posted my husband. I've talked about how well our marriage is going. I post about how he's such an amazing provider and works so hard for the family. And for me, I had to be a big girl. You got to say, hey, guess what, guys? I was wrong. And for so many of us, we present an aesthetic and we want our aesthetic to be our real life. If you take a self-assessment, is that really who you are and where you are? It may not be. I once heard people say that if you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep, it may be God talking to you, or the universe is trying to pass you a message. So what my self-assessment looked like, and so this will help you maybe identify moments in time in your own life where you're able to say, hey, that's not just a fluke. I don't want to get out the car. That's intuition, right? If you pull up to a party or a nightclub and something tells you no, that's your intuition. But what if it's not as blatant as I don't like the people standing outside? What if it's not as loud as that, right? What if it's more subtle? Let me tell you what it looked like for me. I was going to Target 5 or 6 times a week after the divorce. And this is why the last video that you guys gave me great engagement on was so personal for me. The last video, I wanted to address consumerism and Black women because I was there. I was in a state of stress, anxiety, depression. I was grieving, but I was going to target to maintain normalcy so I didn't have to confront what I was going through. I was going to target so much. I was going broke and did not want to address my feelings. I didn't want to talk about it. I still to this day haven't made a full financial recovery from the shopping that I did those few months right after the divorce. It's astronomical, the totals of the amount of money I spent. Astronomical. And yes, I'm employed. Yes, I get money from socials, but the fact that I can say that that was so financially draining and I haven't recovered is what I want women to be able to say to themselves. Even if you're not telling your best friend, even if you're not telling your parents or your siblings, I want you to at least be able to say to yourself in your self-assessment, I really screwed up there and I need to address it. Because I think there's also a disservice in social media and in our community where we tell Black women that you need to be magical. You need to be hardworking. You need to be against all odds. So that really doesn't allow us the grace to open up and express feelings of sadness, stress, depression, anxiety, grief. Because Black women are supposed to put on magical acts all the time. And the term magic in the Black girl magic is really such a disservice because what it's saying is against all odds, you've done this, whatever this is, a degree, an accomplishment, a purchase of a home, a house, a car, whatever, a home, a house, a car, a travel vacation you've always wanted. What it says is that against all odds, what would stump a normal person, you Black girl have done it. Then when do Black women get the opportunity to say to their community, I need help. This didn't work out the way I wanted it to or the way I thought I would. I am sad. I need a hug. I need to tell you about the stresses at work or the stresses of a new baby. Black women are given this magic term to suppress everything else and keep muling and keep working and keep your goal ahead of you when other people aren't expected to show up like that. They're expected to be in tune with their feelings, their mental health, their capacities, their limits. But Black women are told you have no limit. Keep going because of your magic, right? So I don't want to take away from the beauty of the term, the women that have been acknowledged with the term, right? But I want to talk about the disservice that the term is maybe doing to our community. So as I started to do research about my own ideas and sort of unsubscribing from this Black girl magic ideology, right? I started to find article after article about other Black women unsubscribing and denouncing this Black girl magic. It was refreshing to see because it was so profound. And the research led me to a very specific article I want to pull some things from. And the articles, of course, I'll reference in this chat. I will link in the description box. If you don't see it, you are free to remind me. But let's get started with an article I saw in the Michigan Daily. Now, it is from 2020. It's called The Harm of Black Girl Magic. And remember, the idea of this series is self-assessment. And why I'm honing in on Black Girl Magic is because Black Girl Magic, again, doesn't allow us the opportunity to do a self-assessment, a self-check, a wellness check with our bodies, our hearts, our minds. If you're only able to portray strength and resilience, how can you be honest in a self-assessment? The article starts off, it tells about the writer feels as if Black Girl Magic gives her a feeling of being seen where she's usually never seen, especially in society, the Disney movies and, fairy tales and rom-coms. Black women or Black girls aren't portrayed in the same way our counterparts are. But then Taraji P. Henson said the term is quite dehumanizing. And the more that the writer says, she started to investigate, she started to agree with Taraji. In a world where Black women are disproportionately neglected in doctors' offices, coined as angry when expressing the tiniest bit of passion and deemed ratchet, ugly, the phrase Black Girl Magic only hurts us by saying we are able to undertake unnecessary amounts of pain and rejection because we are built to withstand the toughest of challenges. It's unjust. It is inhumane and unjust to think that a woman it's emotionally triggering. And I don't believe that the creator of Black Girl Magic had this intent at all. But every mistake deserves correction, right? It doesn't deserve overcorrection, but it deserves correction. Black women are 3 times more likely to... We know the statistics on maternal mortality in the Black community. And it says here, Black women feel pain, period, full stop. We feel pain. Are we able to express that? Are we able to recognize that? Does our pain only get translated into anger? I would say express it anyway. Express it anyway. Understand it anyway. Dig into your feelings anyway. Because if you're subscribed to Black Girl Magic, you're going to miss what could break you. So the one thing I'm very proud of about my series that I've created on this channel is that it allows us to prevent that break. If we're able to have the conversations, which takes bravery, because so often Black women are taught that you will look weak or you're too sensitive. I learned at a very early age, in my early stages of dating, that if a man told me I was too sensitive, I'm protecting myself from something you're doing. I'm not too sensitive. You're offensive. You're nitpicking. So this community will allow us to really dig deep and feel those feels that for so long we have been shamed to feel as Black women. I don't see counterparts really detaching themselves from their feelings. And that's because our counterparts are allowed and made to feel valid and heard. And for us, Black Girl Magic says, don't bother us with your feelings. Just keep working, girl. You're doing it. And then we don't have to address anything about you. We don't have to address any sadness you have. We don't have to address any depression or mental health issues you may be suffering with. We don't have to address your postpartum. because you are conditioned to be strong and resilient and just to keep pushing forward and strive. I am unsubscribing you and myself from that ideology. Black women, a self-assessment will absolutely allow you to learn yourself. I know so many Black women who can't identify attributes about themselves outside of their role as a mother, a partner, a spouse, an entrepreneur, an engineer, a manager. They don't know anything about themselves and what makes them great. They probably wouldn't be able to identify their fears, their desires, their needs, which means you can't identify cravings or desires that are unhealthy. That's why it took me so long to recognize that I had an unhealthy desire to visit Target 5-6 times a week after I filed divorce. It took a little flicker of light for me to understand and make the connection. So I'm telling you, a self-assessment is so necessary. It'll prevent you from breaking, and it'll allow you to understand your baselines. It'll allow you to look in the mirror and say, I'm not my best self, and not my best mom self, not my best wife self, not my best engineering self, not my best entrepreneurial self, but I'm not my best self. That'll prevent you from breaking. And then it'll allow you to identify the connections that are making you fall short of where you want to be. I'm going to link some quizzes in the description box that'll allow you to take a self-assessment. And what I really want to do is just continue to open up the conversation so we as Black women can become our best selves. And I'm not saying to deny yourself what you truly enjoy, but I'm saying if it's an overindulgence, there's a reason why. And if you don't identify the reason why, that overindulgence can be your break, and whatever that break may be. It may not be overspending, but it could be staying in the relationship that's ruining you. It could be staying at the job that's preventing you from really achieving your goals. I don't want the message to be lost or for it to be misunderstood that I'm in any way saying Black women aren't magical. You absolutely are. Black girls are magical. You absolutely are, but you're magical as your full self. You're magical as your whole self. You're magical when you're low. You're magical when you're sad. You're magical when you're working through depression. You're magical when you're heartbroken. You're magical when you can't get out of bed. You're not only Black girl magic when you're achieving something, when you're on a luxury vacation, when you've bought a house or a car, when you're signing up for your next degree. Those are not your only moments of magic. You're magical as your full whole self. There's something I saw recently, and what I'll do in this series is I want to integrate some pop culture into it, because I saw something recently about one of the participants on Love is Blind. She allowed the partner she met on the show to enter her house, and then she started to describe why her house was in a disarray. And she laughed it off and said it's because she was packing. But what I saw when I looked at her home was depression. That was not one day of mess and closet destruction and clothes everywhere and piles on the bed and piles in the walkway. That wasn't one day of packing. That was something totally different. And so what I want us to be able to do, instead of calling each other lazy, is to understand and recognize in our community when things aren't right. And not being able to identify when you see something like that. If you were to enter a friend's home and your friend's home looked like this and you left and called your friend lazy, you've not identified that your friend is in a state of depression. That is why when I see comments about materialism, that's lazy. That's a lazy way to identify the conversation of consumerism and Black women. That's not materialistic. That is something else. It has nothing to do with materialism. The overconsumption is also the overindulgence that I spoke about a few minutes ago. The overconsumption is an overindulgence that can break you. So honestly, this second video has truly been a labor of love as I've tried to really allow you to open yourselves up to that level of self-reflection, self-assessment, personal growth, to even ask those questions. So I really invite you. I have no affiliation to the assessments that I will link in the chat that I find for you, but I just want you to open up that third eye into your own personal selves, not as a mom, not as a wife, but as a wonderful Black woman. And that's it. Full stop. Period. Thank you again. You are welcome to engage in the comments, build community, open up with questions, ask me questions. If you have ideas about what we should talk about next, please let me know. I do want to give some foresight on video number 3. Video number 3 is very interesting to me because what I want to talk about is I'm back outside and what that really means. And is there a connection to I'm back outside to Black Girl Magic? All right. Thank you all. Please show your support by sharing the video, hitting the like button. Be sure to subscribe and come back. The next video is going to be so good. I can't wait for us to dig in with I'm back outside. Bye, ladies. Take care.